This is where the horse mob comes in. So get this. And I'm going to give you a little backstory for just a sec, but I promise we are coming back around and you're going to want to know this. So apparently the 1960s equestrian scene in Chicago was run by a rough crowd known as the Horse Syndicate. And at the center of this horse syndicate was a man by the name of Silas Jane. Silas had been playing fast and loose in the industry since the late 1930s when he opened a place called the Green Tree Stables and embarked on a long and storied career of lying, cheating, and stealing his way to the top, and defending his interests by any means necessary, including possibly by ordering a hit on one of the nation's wealthiest heiresses in 1977, by the way. Now, most of his brothers were cut from the same cloth, but one of them wasn't. His much younger half-brother, George. And that infuriated Silas. By 1952, according to the Chicago Tribune magazine, George had also joined the stable business. And the thing was, whereas Silas made his money kind of in the shadows, George made his by being a generally competent business owner. And now that the brothers were competitors, that was something Silas just could not have, which led to poor George having some seriously bad luck. Like in 1952, when his house went up in flames for who knows what reason while he and his family were out of town. Brotherly relations took an especially dark turn after George's horse beat Silas's horse at a jumping competition in the early 1960s. And before he knew it, it wasn't just George's property at risk. A hit was carried out on one of his best horses. And George himself was surviving brushes with death damn near on the weekly. Everywhere he went, someone was trying to run him off the road or blow up his house. Like, no joke, one day he and his wife found dynamite affixed to their back door, and it had actually fizzled out before it could cause any damage. But clearly a message was trying to be sent, clearly by Silas, and George wasn't getting it. Now, 1965 is when it really hit the fan. By this point, George owned Tricolor riding stables. And one day in June of that year, George asked one of his employees, a 22-year-old named Cheryl Lynn Rood, to move his car for him. So she hopped into the driver's seat, turns the key in the ignition, which is when the car exploded in spectacular fashion. It had been rigged with dynamite, which meant that George had just survived his most dramatic brush with death yet. But Cheryl wasn't so fortunate.